Hello, Liz. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So glad to be together. Um, I'm really excited about our conversation today for many reasons. But our primary connection point is that we're both female entrepreneurs and we're both freelance writers. What struck me about your arc of freelance writing is how long you've been doing it.
Yes.
Um, I have been a freelance writer twice in my career. Once when my kids were little, and I kind of had to abandon ship because I could not keep up with the deadlines and the diapers. You know, when the editor's like, "Hey, it's 10 a.m. I need a revision by noon," and I'm looking at my kids in the sandbox at the park, going, "I don't, I don't think that's gonna happen." So that was the first time I abandoned ship, but it was really like a painful thing because I love freelance writing. And then the second time I rebooted my career was a couple of years ago when I left the wedding planning business. And a lot has changed in 15 years.
Yes. Yes.
You started, well, first of all, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are, and then I'll kick off with my very first question.
Yes. That
So
sounds that
I'll give
sounds
you the
great.
floor.
Yeah. I am Liz Heflin. I have been a freelance writer in some capacity, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a lot, but that has shifted and changed over the years, the flavor of what that actually looks like. But I've been doing it since 2006. So I started in college, and it really was just a way to make a little extra cash. And I was lucky enough to gain traction, and it just became my career. And it's just 2 decades on now, and it's still what I love and still what lights me up. A lot of that I attribute to the fact that I have pivoted a lot and listened to my gut about what feels right and what direction I want to take things, and adapting to the landscape as the landscape has shifted around me. Like I said, I'm sure we'll talk about all of that, get into all of those details. But at my heart, I am a writer. I'm an editor. I've done a lot of content marketing over the years, and I've shifted into nonfiction, full book ghostwriting is sort of the main thrust and trajectory of my business now. And then I also have this other arm of my business where I run a community for other freelance writers, helping them capture all of the amazing things that freelance can give your life, because it really can be transformative. So I have a lot of balls in the air at any given time, but I just love it. I just really, really love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And that's really the key for any endeavor when you're an entrepreneur is like that passion and that underpinning of really loving what you do.
Yes.
Because it is kind of like being out on a tightrope most of the time. There's not a whole lot of safety net. Obviously,
Mhm.
and when there is a two-income household, there can be more of that. But it is the the thing about entrepreneurship that I think gets a lot of people is that you're constantly needing to think about what's happening today and next week and next month and next year. It's
Mhm.
not just a passive thing where you show up. Not that going to a job where you get a regular paycheck is passive per se. It's just a completely different energy. But
Yes.
what is so fascinating for me about you is that 2 decades. Okay, so 2 decades, almost just shy of 2 decades,
Almost, just
18
shy.
years. But let's review what has happened in those 2 decades that you have that you have managed to get through. Um, 2008 stock market crash,
Yep.
social media launching for real, like in the early 2010s,
Yes.
the pandemic in 2020, and
Yes.
everything that happened in between all of those major milestone things.
Yeah.
What struck me most a couple of years ago is when I first was in freelance, it was about making a phone call to the agency in the town that I lived in and saying, "Hey, I'm a writer. Do you have work for me?" And the answer was typically yes. I
Yeah.
would call newspapers and I would call agencies like PR firms, and I'd go in for an in-person interview, right?
Yep.
And then they'd feed me clients. And I got my business off the ground, I have to say, pretty easily with no experience. This time around, it was a whole nother ball game because we were back then, it was pre-social media, pre-LinkedIn, pre-networking like we do now. So can
Yes.
you give me a snapshot of some of the things that have changed in the last 2 decades for you and how you do things?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, my business today is basically unrecognizable from what it was when I started. But it is funny because I have always been, even from the very, very beginning, I've always been 100% remote, nothing in person, nothing in office for my business. I did briefly for less than a year. I worked in office in a digital marketing agency a million years ago, straight out of college. But for this business, so in 2008 and 2007, that was kind of unheard of. It was so baffling to people. They're like, "What do you mean we're never going to meet you?" And it was a very big uphill battle to get people to trust you because you were just a name on an email, right? And you could do phone calls and things, but I mean this was pre-Zoom. People weren't jumping on video calls like they were then. So getting people to even get on board with the idea that that was what the working relationship would be was very difficult. And the longer I did it, and the more other people were doing that as well, it just became more and more common. And then, of course, the pandemic hit and everything shifted. Everybody was remote, everybody was working that way. And so in that very specific regard, things actually became easier and easier because the world was kind of coming around to the way that I had always operated my business. It was always kind of so funny hearing people be like, "Oh, this work from home thing, I don't have to commute and I don't have to do this. And it's so liberating." And kind of like, yeah, that's what I've been telling people for 18 years, right? So yeah, that it was just very interesting to kind of see the whole working landscape kind of inch closer and closer to the way that I wanted to operate my business, right? Kind of regardless, and always have.
Beautiful. I'd love to get into your mindset because if you turn on the news, it is always in forever doom and gloom. Like
Yes.
we're always about to crash and burn, right? But I've found that that isn't always the case, first. And second, that so much has to do with how I approach
Hmm.
my attitude and my mindset about what is available to me. Dare
Yeah.
I say, the abundance of work that's out there. And I
Yes.
think on some level, as an entrepreneur, you have to kind of shut some of that out and be like, nope, that doesn't apply to me. Can you
Yeah.
can you talk about how you do that?
It is so astounding how much your attitude and mindset dictates the opportunities that come to you, what you do with them when they do come to you. I mean, I really can't overstate it. I feel like mindset is the key determining factor of success in entrepreneurship. And I think it's a little bit about perspective, remembering that, okay, if I can line up 4 to 5 clients, consistent, reliable anchor clients, I'm good. I have been, if that's all that I do, I have set up a sustainable, rewarding, challenging business. And I think that people get a little overwhelmed. They're sending out connection requests and they're applying to things and they're doing all the things that they're supposed to be doing and they're not hearing back, and it's so easy to get discouraged. But remembering that you only need a couple of yeses in the sea of no's that you will inevitably come up against is really powerful. And it sort of helps you take control of your business.
Yeah.
The the success rate on a cold pitch is something like 1 to 2%. So you're sending out 100 messages and you are hoping to get 1 or 2 yeses back. but you only need to do that a couple of times and find the right people. And then of course all the other, and all the other methods start coming in. Networking, upselling to existing clients, reaching out to, capitalizing on the sort of the secondary network of your initial network, all of these things and tactics, putting in really stellar, high quality work so that once you do have a client, they're never going to want to let you go. And that's, a recurring system for you. So, I mean, there's a million tactics to really capitalize on it. But at the end of the day, I think that perspective is just so important because it's hard to hear no, 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 and not start to doubt yourself, not start to think, well, what's wrong with me? And as this industry, as more and more people are realizing, I can make a really decent, really fulfilling life out of writing. That's on the table now, and I think a lot of people want that. So it's becoming a very busy, crowded space. But because the barrier to you having success is quite low, it doesn't mean that there's not enough work to go around. You're not trying to go out every month and land 100 new people. So even if it becomes a very competitive, very busy space, that collaboration versus competition mindset can only help you. Um, I think the keeping perspective, realizing that your fellow writers aren't your competition in most cases, in the vast, vast majority of cases, they are your collaborators. They're your biggest cheerleaders. They're the biggest path to success. I think those things are really key.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the idea that those retainer clients, those consistent every month, you know what you're producing for them. You know what they want. You know the voice, the marketing, whatever, all the things that they need, and it's
Yep.
like plug and play almost.
Yes.
It made all the difference when I was able to secure two or three retainer
Yes.
clients. And then I had my like one-off projects, like updating a website or whatever. And so that was like
Yes.
my fill in. But yeah, to know that those folks are there. And what's so funny, and I'd love to hear your take on this. Um, when I was doing cold calling, I felt, it takes a lot. You have to pace yourself because that no, no, no,
Yeah.
like you said, can be so rough. But
Yeah.
what I found was so funny is two things actually brought me clients that I did not expect. One was the networking in places that it wasn't like a business networking, it was like a dinner party.
Hmm. Yep.
or like
Yes.
word of mouth, somebody knows you're
Hmm.
doing it and then somebody goes, oh, you should call Anne. That was one. And the other one was I wrote for myself. I started a blog
Mm.
and I
Yeah.
started writing my own story about my family or a trip or whatever. It was a personal blog and people were reading it and going, oh, she can write.
Yeah.
She can write. It wasn't business writing. I wasn't writing about so and so's X, Y, and Z. I was just writing for me.
Yeah.
And I was so surprised how many people locked in on this. Leanne is a writer, Leanne is a writer, Leanne is a writer. And so when anything came up that
Yeah.
was writing oriented, I was the first person they thought of because
Yes.
they may not have known personally another writer, right? But what was interesting, oh yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, and that is so the premise of like social media marketing,
Yes.
because I'm big on LinkedIn. I'm totally drunk the LinkedIn Kool-Aid. And that's the thing. You show up, you demonstrate your skill, you do it consistently, and you become top of mind when there's an opportunity, you become the first name that pops into somebody's head when, oh, I wonder if they do press releases. I wonder if they do like you get known for writing or a very specific kind of writing, depending on what your marketing is. And it's so powerful. And it's, yeah, I just can't overstate how effective that can be. And again, going back to mindset, it's a long game. Like you
Yeah.
have to accept that you're not always going I'm talking directly to my ideal client, and they're going to contact me directly after I create this post, and we'll be off to the races. It doesn't usually work like that. It's more people see you over time, you get those multiple touch points, and you start to become the person that's top of mind. And then when they have a need for you, you become the person to fill in the slot. So it's
Yeah.
definitely not like instantaneous. It can be, but not usually.
Yeah.
And accepting that it's kind of part of working on your business is the self-marketing piece. It's all the time.
Yeah. And so the moral of the story is, yes, put in your hours at the computer networking, but go out and live your life. Right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
seriously, this is, I think there's some secret sauce to the go live your life part of entrepreneurship because so often we can bang our head against the keyboard thinking if we're not sitting here, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I that was the old me. The new me is like, I think the answers are on the hiking trail. The answers for
Yeah.
me are at the beach. The answers for me are playing with my kids.
And I think that there's just something to that, in that when you go and you live your life and you enjoy yourself and you see friends and you spend time with your family and you make space for those things, you come to the work, when you do the work, more creatively aligned, more excited to do the work. You're just refreshed and ready to do it. When everything becomes, if I'm not here and I'm not doing it, it becomes a slog. And that's when the
Yeah.
sustainability starts to slip away because you're not enjoying it. You can only push, push, push so long before something breaks. And that's when you see people leaving. They go, oh, I did this and I tried it and I tried it and I tried it and I put in the 80-hour weeks and it wasn't happening. And kind of course, because you can only keep up that pace for
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah.
So
Sustainability. Yeah. So you
yeah.
said my favorite word, which is alignment or align. Whew, I'm playing with this so much right now because I can feel when something isn't in alignment. It's struggle, it's frustrating, it
Hmm.
feels like I want to, oh, I'm like, have to talk myself into doing it. And I
Yeah.
used to think this is just life. Everything is like this. Life is hard, like this mindset of if I'm not struggling, I'm not doing it right.
Yeah. Right.
I do not prescribe to that mindset any longer because I have experienced what happens when you're actually in alignment. It's like, what? How
Yeah.
fast things happen. Um, I had, don't tell my client, but I had a whole month worth of work to do for them. And before I would have made it take a month because I would have
Yeah.
felt like it had to take a month. And I said, what would happen if I got this done in 3 days?
Yeah.
And I did it. And it wasn't that hard. I just decided. But what was beautiful about it is that that project, that this particular client feels so right. There is
Mm.
such alignment there in how they do business, our expectations of each other, how we communicate, what I am actually producing for them. So I'm wondering, in the spirit of this idea of locking in clients like on retainer or having ideal clients, can you talk a bit about not every client is your client?
I think that's such an important question, because when you're starting out, especially, not always even when you're starting out, but a lot of times when you're starting out, there's this, I'll take anything. I just want clients in the door and money in the bank. And I get that feeling because it does feel so competitive and there is so much rejection involved in it. So it leads to this very easily, well, if they're paying their invoices, that makes them the ideal client. And that is a very slippery, dangerous
Yeah.
mindset to start
Yeah.
to start taking to heart, because there's so many things that goes into an ideal client and making somebody actually feel aligned with you. And yes, it's budget. Of course, budget is a piece of it. They have to be able to pay your rates. They have to, be the kind of clients who pay on time, and like that. The money side is a piece of it. But I feel like a lot of people do neglect the temperament fit. And, what kind of processes do they have in place? Do they let you be in charge of how and when you work? Are they forcing you to attend some kind of all hands company meeting when there's really no need for you to be involved in that, and you're not really getting compensated for that time, or it's at least lumped into your project fee, and so it's cutting away your effective hourly, all those kinds of things. You know, are they just people that you enjoy spending time with, And, not every client has to be your best friend, but there should be a level of, you don't want to see their name pop up on your phone and for you to just groan and go, oh my gosh, do I really have to talk to this person?
Yeah.
That's a red flag. That's a sign
Yeah.
that you're probably not aligned with this person. So, all these things, they really matter. And again, to come back to that sustainability idea, again, you can only work with those kinds of clients for so long. When it's just about the money, it doesn't usually last.
Yeah.
And you can force it past when the relationship should go, but usually that bend turns to break, and it doesn't end up working out well in the end. But yeah, when you get clients who are doing work that you believe in, and they trust your expertise to execute that work in the way that you see fit, and you feel that the payment is fair, when all of those things, all those boxes are ticked, it just feels easy and seamless, and like it's no big deal. And I've been so lucky over the years. I've gotten a lot of my clients through referrals, and I think that helps a lot
Mhm.
because it's not the only way to get clients, but if you have somebody who's a really really good personality, temperament, work fit for you, and they refer you to somebody else, it's a good bet that that person is not that far of a jump from your original ideal client. So there tends to be a lot of alignment there from referrals, just because they kind of know how you like to work. They know you, so they know who would be a good fit for you. So not being shy about letting all of your existing clients know that you are always open to referrals. Sometimes just explicitly saying that it's very much a part of my sort of business onboarding, offboarding process, is letting people know, hey, I'm open to referrals, and, making it as easy as possible for people to connect you with other people who might be good fits. It can really easily open a lot of doors for you.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned something about being a part of a meeting, standing meeting, which there can be some gray area when you're a freelancer, because
Yes.
sometimes they want to treat you like, especially if you're on a retainer, it's like a fixed
Yeah.
fee, and then they start adding things in that fixed fee. And I
Mm-hmm.
had one client that had a standing staff meeting every week, and it made sense on some level that I was there. It did, because there was a strategy part of that meeting that I
Sure.
needed to be in on, and it didn't make sense to hear it afterwards because I needed the whole team's perspective. And so I was really clear about what I was willing to do there. I said, yes, I have 30 minutes. I'm the first thing on the agenda.
Yeah. Yes.
And
And I think
that and
people are
that that was standing. And then I was like, bye. See you guys next week.
like, that was my part. And I think people are scared to do that because and this is sort of an interesting thing. I've never really, other than a few sporadic times, I've never really been like a traditional W-2 employee. I've kind of always run my own business and done my own thing. But I've found that there are so many ingrained attitudes and ideas that I had about work that were kind of shaped by and based on traditional employment. So things like feeling
Mhm.
feeling like if the company is like, oh, all it's an all hands meeting, going, okay, well then I'm a hand. I need to I need to participate, even though that's kind of you get to well, the truth of the matter is that you get to dictate the terms of what that looks like and how that works for everybody. Um, even things like thinking, okay, well, 40 hours a week is full-time work. And in freelance, it's just so different when you're running your own business. It's not 40 hours a week wrote every week. It's whatever you need to get the work done. And so many people play with 4-day work weeks or, half days or there's just you can really set your own hours and do what works for you. And it's even if you've never been an employee, it's hard to get away from a lot of that sort of cultural mindset of what work looks like and what you quote unquote should be doing as a worker.
Yeah.
And it's really pervasive, and it takes some time to sort of separate that in your mind and figure out how to navigate the path on your own, the way that works for you.
Yeah, I think it's really again about mindset and setting up, what do I want this to look like? And also, one of the markers of being an entrepreneur is being comfortable making decisions for yourself and then communicating those decisions, which if you wanted to pick a word for that, it's boundaries, which is a
Hmm.
terrifying word for most people because we often think that boundaries have to be aggressive, um, exclusive, like off-putting, mean. And that conversation with that particular client was very simple and straightforward. It's like, I am happy to participate in that meeting. I have 30 minutes. Can I be at the front of the agenda?
Hmm.
That was it. And the
Yeah.
answer was yes.
Yeah.
And then I followed through on it.
Yes.
Followed through on it because the old me would have felt guilty that I was logging out.
Yep.
And the new me was like, no, that was my commitment. If they want to revise that commitment because it's not working for them any longer, they can come to me.
Hmm.
If I need
Yeah.
to revise that commitment, I can go to them and it's an open communication. And there's nothing kinder, in my opinion, than direct, clear communication.
Yes.
No manipulation, no drama,
No games.
just no games, just a two-line email or a 10-second conversation. I swear it's the most effective thing
Yes.
is that expectation and then the execution of that expectation. Those boundaries, man, Liz.
It's it's so funny. I feel like because I do a lot of coaching of new freelance writers. That's kind of one of the arms of my business, and I feel like I say that very sentiment in almost every single one of my sessions. People say, "Well, what about this scenario? And what about this scenario? And oh, what if I do this and what I do this?" And I'm always telling them the cornerstone of a successful long-term client relationship is just honest, clear communication, just like you said. If you get comfortable having those somewhat uncomfortable conversations, because for some reason that just directly stating what you need for that relationship to be successful, there can be like a push and pull about it. It can feel a little uncomfortable sometimes to people. So getting comfortable in that discomfort is going to just set you up so much better. You're going to have such a better, more fulfilling working relationship. And the more you do it, the less uncomfortable it feels. The more you realize, oh, it's not scary to tell somebody your boundaries, what works for you, what's going to make this relationship work. And 9 times out of 10, the answer is, yeah, sure, no problem. Like we build it up in our heads to be this big scary thing where it's going to be a big conflict and they're going
Yeah.
to rip up your contract and they're not your client anymore. Like that's where our brains go. And that's just almost never the case. And if it is, that's probably not a client who was worth sticking with for the long term anyway. The ones who you want to work with are the ones who are going to hear you out, who are going to work with you for reasonable, entirely reasonable requests they will be able to accommodate. So yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
I actually found the opposite of my fear to be true. The more direct and clear I became, the more I was respected
yes,
and the more trust was built
yes,
because we were just meeting each other in that really professional, kind, direct space.
yeah.
And
And I,
yeah,
yeah, I was just gonna say, and I think again, it's that sort of just shifting away from the I'm the employee speaking to my employer dynamic
yeah,
and making it more about, okay, we're peers and I'm here to consult for you and help you and we're coming at it at the same level.
yeah,
And that very small, well, not that small, that shift, I
yeah,
should say,
yeah,
that shift in mindset, shift in approach just makes a massive difference. Because as you
yeah.
say, they stop seeing you as a hired pen who's there to just create deliverables and they start seeing you as sort of a respected strategic mind, somebody who's there to collaborate and help them and guide them.
Yeah.
And it's just a totally different experience.
It's such a different energy because you're
Yeah.
peers, you're equals, you're, as you say, collaborators.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Okay, so this sounds easy, quote unquote. I'm making air quotes. But excuse me. But the step between where I might be standing of like, yes, I want that, and actually having it, doing it in any of these things we're talking about, actually becoming an entrepreneur, actually onboarding clients and actually treating that client this way or having that client, having that relationship with the client. I think where this comes in, this is kind of maybe a little bit of a curveball in talking about entrepreneurship, but let's talk about worthiness.
Mhm. Yeah.
People wanting that, actually feeling capable of it, longing for it, wanting this to be the reality of their life, but there's just something that prevents them from doing it. And I would say, after all the work I've done on myself, getting to a new level of being an entrepreneur that feels in alignment and feels like I actually own my authority, it was surprisingly to me, it was all about my worthiness to be there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we want to go, oh, well, I think I'm an authority, but don't. And we start this sort of like deconstructing people's confidence in us because that's really where we're coming from, a lack of confidence in ourselves and a lack of
Yeah.
feeling that we're worth being where we are. Because when you get to wake up on a Wednesday morning and decide what you're doing that day, not everybody's prepared for that responsibility of
Yes.
being self-guided. Can you talk
Mhm.
about that? Was a lot. That was a lot. So I mean, I'm just throwing you the ball.
No, I think worthiness, whew, that's a big word. And like I said, I coach a lot of other writers, and another thing that we talk about a lot is sort of the manifestation of that lack of worthiness, which is imposter syndrome. You just are feeling a bit like a fraud. You just think at some point the penny's gonna drop and they're gonna figure out I'm not supposed to be here. And I wish that there was a magic wand to let everybody feel and exude and execute on how incredible they are. Because some of the people who I've talked to who are struggling with these confidence issues, these issues of worthiness, are some of the most talented, incredible, kind, conscientious, professional people who I've ever encountered. So I think it's one thing to know is that there is no correlation that I've seen between not feeling worthy and not being worthy. Because like
Mm,
I said, some of the most professional, wonderful writers that I've encountered are are coming to me going, I don't think I should send this letter of introduction. I don't think I should go after this job. I don't think I should follow up with that email. And so it's if you're feeling that way, know that everybody feels that way to some degree sometimes, and that it doesn't say anything true about your abilities or your worthiness or your place at the table. I think that's
Yeah.
sort of step one for the first thing to say about that, because it should be said.
Yeah. I was really surprised at how much I still struggle with this part of the worthiness piece. And I always think I'm going to be too much, like this self-promotion or this arrogance or whatever I feel it's going to be perceived as. And like, who do I think I am?
Right.
And I think
Right.
that this is where I had to come to the why. Why do I want to do this?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about the why? Because I
Yes,
imagine the
the
why
why.
for you has had to be a big deal for
Yes.
18 years of sustainability.
And the why has 1,000% shifted under my feet over that time. It's not a static thing. Nothing in your business is static, including even
Yeah.
the very fundamental thing that's driving you to do it. I suppose at the 10,000 foot view, my why has always just been, I want to do something that I love every day. And for me, that has always been writing. I knew it from a wee little toddler. I really did. I mean, I have the little preschool assignments to prove it. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a writer. And so I've been very lucky in the fact that I have always kind of known what my driving force is. But I mean, when I started, my primary goal, in all honesty, was I just didn't want to go get some crummy job on campus and, bus tables or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with that job, but it just was not what I wanted to do. And I was like, can I just make a little extra cash sitting in my pajamas in my apartment? Like that was my guiding principle. And then of course, as my business evolved and my life changed and all of those good things, my why changed. But I spent a good deal of my 20s traveling and living abroad and working abroad, and had these really incredible life transformative experiences that I'm so, so grateful for. And so much of that was because I was freelance, because my job was portable. I didn't have to deal with, well, I'm going to have to quit and then I'm going to have to find another job. And so when opportunities presented themselves in my life, I was so much more ready and prepared and able to say, sure, like, let's see what that's about. You want to move to South Korea and teach English? Yeah, sure. What's that about? You want to move to England? Yeah, sure. Let's try that. Like, so I got to do all of these really amazing things in part because of freelance. And it just deepened my appreciation and my why for pursuing writing. And then I had a kid, and it all and I didn't think I could love freelance more, and here I was loving freelance even more because I had a job
Yeah.
that put me in a position where I could pursue this career that I had worked so so hard to build and I cared so so much about, and also be a really present, loving mom and part of this new little family unit that we had. And there just was nothing to compare to that. The fact that I could do that, that I didn't have to go, okay, well, my mat leave is up in 2 weeks, and then I have to go back into the office, 7 to 7. And
Mm-hmm.
I saw friends and family members and things having to do that, and it broke their heart,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
I
yeah.
felt so simultaneously devastated for them and grateful that that wasn't my story. And that's not to say that if you're a working mom in the office, that it takes away at all from, how great of a mom you are, and what you're giving to your family and all of those things. But I was just really, really grateful that I had this opportunity to be present in that way
Yeah.
for my kid and my family. And so yeah, it's shifted a lot over the years as things have changed, but I just keep finding myself going, I'm just so grateful.
Yeah.
I just so full of gratitude that this is my existence, that this is the world that I've built. And it was conscious, it was deliberate. I have built my business in a very deliberate, careful way to align with all of the things that I want it to align with. But um yeah, yeah, gratitude is just the word that I keep coming back to because I am just so grateful for it.
Yeah.
To do
I
what I
love
love
that.
is a big privilege.
It really is such a big privilege. Yeah, my why was freedom as well. That it wasn't just that I could make that phone call from anywhere, although that was a big part of it. But for me, it was that each day feels so different to me.
Hmm.
Some days I can sit and I can write for 4 or 5 hours. And some days I'm like, there is no way I need to
Yes.
do something else. And
Yes.
to be able to shift my own schedule and determine what works for my biology that day
Hmm.
is a big deal and actually something I aspire for everybody.
Yeah.
I think that we're actually not built to just grind. Well, we know that, right? We all know that.
Right.
We're not built to just, compartmentalize the way we do in terms of like office time. And so I just needed to say, well, I got something done ahead of time, so now I could pivot. Or that is taking me way longer than I thought. I need to push this out and not have there be like some fallout or judgment or pushback. And also,
Hmm.
and I think another marker too of entrepreneurs, not only are we self-motivated and driven, but we tend to get things done faster. And I don't know, I say this with all the love in my heart, but we move, like we can really crank things out. And sometimes working in a traditional environment can be a drag, literally. It's
Yeah.
like, we could have gotten that done. Like, what do you mean next year? What do you mean next year? How about next week?
Yep.
We could get this done in a week.
Especially as a solopreneur, where you are the one making all of the decisions and you obviously you collaborate with your clients and all of that, but it's so funny you say that because you compare, okay, how long would it take to get this initiative pushed through like a corporate level thing, and when it's your business you just go, okay, let's get the website up, let's do it, like I mean, when I launched my website for my ghostwriting agency, I was just like, okay, took us in the seat, let's do it. And it was up and live in 2 days.
Yeah,
Right. And it's not
right.
perfect. And but it's a living document.
Doesn't
It will
matter.
change and shift. But yeah, like things can just
Yeah.
get done.
Yeah, it's if you overthink it, it's because you're sitting there overthinking it, as
Yes.
opposed to the committee has to consider it for weeks
Yes.
on end, right? So, as we're closing here in the next few minutes, could you give us a snapshot into how you schedule your time? What does your week look like? Do you have like a day for a day of the week that you focus on a client, or how does your stuff roll out every month?
Yeah. It's a great question. I personally really do thrive on a pretty set schedule. So I impose that for myself. So I really am kind of at my desk from kind of a 9 to 4, 9 to 5 type situation. And that tends to be about half of my time is client work, real, sit down, billable deliverables for my clients. And a good another half of my day, another 3, 4 hours is all of the things I need to do, everything else I need to do to keep a business moving forward. So, I'm updating my spreadsheets, I'm sending my invoices, I'm self-marketing. I post on LinkedIn Monday to Friday, um, every Monday to Friday without fail. Now that I say that, I'll miss a day for some reason or another, but typically Monday to Friday without fail. And responding to the comments that I get on LinkedIn, and developing relationships there, sending out cold emails to prospects, following up with prospects, having discovery calls with new potential clients, all of the other sort of working working on your business as opposed to in your business kind of thing. So it really is kind of half and half. I will tend to do about half client work and then half all of the other stuff. And I do sort of plan my day around when I get my creative energy, which is always later in the day. In the morning,
Mm,
I'm just a
yeah.
slow
Yeah.
to start, slow to get going. It's just, I always have been. And so I don't have to fight that. I just build my schedule to accommodate it. So I'm answering emails and sending, follow-ups that don't take a ton of mental bandwidth. I'm doing all of the things that need to get done, but maybe don't take as much mental pull for me. And then at the end of the day, when I'm kind of like, okay, I'm awake, I feel my neurons firing, I'm actually here and present, that's when I will do my actual sort of creative client work, because that's when my brain allows it more.
Yeah.
But it really is it is quite scheduled. And that's not what works for everybody, but that's what works for me. I find sort of treating it like that just keeps me consistent, keeps me accountable, keeps me on track. Because I'm also one of those people that, like, if I give myself a week to do it, it will take a week to do. And I just know that about myself. So
Yeah.
if I'm like, okay, you have to get this, this, and this, and this done, then I will get this, and this done, come hell or high water. So setting those boundaries for myself I know that about myself is very important. But yeah,
Yeah. Love
most days
that.
you can find me right here at my
I
desk,
love
9 to
it.
5.
Yeah. It's a game changer for me is I would pick a day that belonged to something.
Mm.
So I am just useless after 12 o'clock on Friday. I just accepted that about myself. I
Yes.
stopped trying to get the last really important stuff done at 3 o'clock on Friday.
Yep.
I mean, it's just not going to happen. And my creativity is first thing in the morning and then at like 4 o'clock, which is really inconvenient because that's school pickup, right?
Yes. Yes.
But what are you going to do? And so I was like, what if I just designate this day as podcast day? I
Mm.
record and edit. This is my marketing day. So I might queue up my marketing. And this is my client A day and my client B day. It's not always perfect.
Sure.
But it is so interesting because for me, focus is such a big deal. And I found it really hard to pivot from doing social media posts to writing a press release. It just was like, they were two totally different energies for me. So
Yes.
it's like, if I could just sink into that client's mindset, if you will, like who
Sure.
are they? What do they need from me? And then I could get those 2 blog posts and those, 6 social posts for them queued up that day.
Yeah.
Not always, but I try. And it made all the difference to just allow the day to belong to one thing.
I think there's like a lot of legitimate neuroscience to back that very idea up. When we're constantly task switching,
Yeah.
it just it's an astounding amount of time it takes our brain to switch gears. We think, oh, we'll just send this email real fast and then bounce back into this, writing this blog post. And the gap between when you leave one thing and start another, it takes a while to get back into it. And if you can kind of sink in to something and do, what Cal Newport calls deep work for
Mhm.
that amount of time, it is incredible what can get done in a short amount of
Really,
time.
so true. Amazing. Well, in closing, I would love to hear if you were to name, no pressure on it being one specific thing, but if you were to name something that really feels like what carried you through the last 18 years, even
Hmm.
if it's something you've already said, what was the
Yeah.
thing that you really would attribute your success to or your longevity to?
I think, and this is kind of an out of left field thing to say, I suppose,
My favorite kind of
but
thing. So go for it.
but I think it's accepting that doing something that you love, doing something that lights you up, and something that you're so passionate about doesn't mean that every day is going to be great. I think that there's this idea like, oh, if I'm self employed, it's going to be so great because of X, Y, and Z. And it can be great for X, Y, and Z, but it can also be really difficult. And I think accepting that just because you love it doesn't mean you're going to love every single moment of it is really key, because
Yeah.
you're going to come up against challenges and heartbreaks, deals that don't get across the line that you thought were going to get across the line that would be, career changing, life changing, all these
Yeah.
things. You're going to come up against those. And the more that you build your business and the bigger that it becomes, the higher those stakes get, and the bigger the victories and the bigger the losses, and, all of those things. So accepting that it's still going to be good days and bad days,
Yeah.
even when you love it, that those two things can happen at the same time. Um and and I operated my business for a full 15 years in a total bubble. I didn't know other writers. I didn't seek other entrepreneurs out. I was just kind of I was applying to jobs and kind of relying on my existing network to refer me out, and word of mouth and that kind of thing. I didn't seek it out at all. And about 3 years ago, I jumped onto LinkedIn and started meeting other writers and actively seeking out other entrepreneurs and learning from them. And they were learning from me, and it was like a bunch of fireworks went off. I was like, why did I not do this earlier? Because a lot of those things that you're going, oh, this is so hard, why is this so hard, is that normal, all of those things that entrepreneurs think and wonder, especially solopreneurs who are kind of doing it on their own. Just go talk to your fellow people and you will very quickly learn that all of the things you're struggling with, everybody struggles with. All of the things you're dealing with, everybody deals with. And it's so liberating, and you just feel so much less alone,
Yeah.
and it feels less lonely, and all of those things. So yeah, I wouldn't want anybody to leave this podcast thinking, oh, because she is so grateful for what she does, because she loves it, and because she gets to do what she wants to do and has always wanted to do, that every day is perfect, because it's not.
No. No.
and that it's still and that it's still worth it. It's still worth
Yeah.
pursuing. It's still worth pushing through, even and despite the days that are down days.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Beautiful. I totally agree with you. Go find your tribe. Have that one friend that you can call and be like, I think I'm losing it. And then find
Yes.
your tribe of people who also do what you do.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I'd love to close this way in that there really is no competition.
Yes.
We are individuals who do things individually the way we do them, even if we do the same thing as other people. There is
Hmm.
8 billion people on this planet. There is enough work for everyone, especially
Yes.
in the global market that we're in now, where we can literally talk to people in India or Europe or wherever we want. Um, don't let that be the barrier. Like, there is no competition. So go find your peeps and get to know them, because you'll be surprised at how many of your fellow people that do what you do will send you business.
Yes.
It's
Absolutely.
amazing. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Liz, this was so fun. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great.
Yes. And if somebody wanted to find out more about you and how to inquire about your coaching or ghostwriting or anything like that, how would they locate you?
LinkedIn is always good. I'm just Liz Heflin. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm there all the time. You can also check out the Inkwell, which is the community I run for freelance writers. Speaking of that, camaraderie, not competition. There's
Yes.
there's about 350 of us in there to date, and it's just a very safe, supportive, wonderful place to be. And then if you wanted to learn anything about my ghostwriting, you can go to heflinmedia.com, and you can see all about my agency there.
Beautiful. I will link all of that in the show notes if anybody wants to go there. And once again, thank you so much for your time. It was really fun
Thank
being
you.
with you. We'll see you soon.
See ya.
Until next time.